Welcome to Global North. Please subscribe to the channel and press the bell icon for more updates. The Supreme Court recently made headlines, drawing national attention and sparking debate across the country. The justices declined to hear two major challenges to state gun control laws, a move that surprised many legal observers and activists on both sides of the issue. One of the cases focused on Maryland's ban on certain semi-automatic firearms, often referred to as assault weapons, which has been a point of contention for years. The other case challenged Rhode Island's restriction on high-capacity magazines, which are often blamed for increasing the lethality of mass shootings. By refusing to take up these appeals, the Supreme Court allowed lower court rulings to stand, effectively keeping the bans in place for now, and leaving the existing legal framework unchanged. Supporters of stricter gun laws saw this as a significant win for public safety, arguing that these measures help prevent gun violence and save lives. Meanwhile, gun rights advocates viewed the court's inaction as a setback, expressing frustration that the justices did not take the opportunity to clarify the scope of the Second Amendment. The decision doesn't set a national precedent, but it maintains the legal status quo and leaves uncertainty for similar laws in other states, as courts across the country continue to interpret gun rights differently. The court's move signals it may be waiting for a more definitive or sweeping case before weighing in on the broader constitutional questions surrounding gun control. Both sides are left in suspense, closely watching for the next major case that could finally force the Supreme Court to address the issue directly and provide nationwide guidance. For now, state-level bans on certain firearms and magazines remain in effect, continuing to shape the landscape of gun ownership and regulation across the country. The broader legal fight continues in lower courts, where new challenges and appeals are already in motion, keeping the issue alive in the judicial system. The national debate over gun rights and public safety is far from settled, and the country remains deeply divided as both sides await the Supreme Court's next move. Not all justices agreed with the decision to sidestep the gun ban cases. While the court's move may seem procedural, it actually highlights the ongoing tension and uncertainty surrounding gun rights in America. Justice Clarence Thomas, joined by Justices Alito and Gorsuch, issued a strong dissent, arguing that the court should have directly addressed Maryland's law banning the popular AR-15 rifle. They believe the issue is too important to ignore, as millions of Americans own these firearms. Justice Kavanaugh, while agreeing to wait for now, signaled that the court would soon be compelled to rule on the constitutionality of assault weapon bans. He emphasized that lower courts are divided, and clarity from the Supreme Court is urgently needed. These public disagreements among the justices reveal deep and persistent divisions on how to interpret the Second Amendment in today's rapidly changing world, especially as gun violence and mass shootings remain in the headlines. The conservative majority has previously expanded gun rights in landmark decisions, but this recent hesitation suggests a more cautious and strategic approach as they weigh the potential impact of their next ruling. The next major gun case could produce a narrow, hotly contested decision with sweeping consequences for both gun owners and lawmakers across the country, potentially reshaping the legal landscape for years to come. The legal community, advocacy groups, and the public are all watching closely, anticipating the case that will finally force the Supreme Court to settle the national debate over assault weapon bans once and for all. The question is not if, but when, and how, the court will ultimately rule on assault weapon bans, a decision that could have profound effects on American society and the future of gun legislation. Maryland's Firearms Safety Act, passed after the Sandy Hook tragedy, bans the sale of many semi-automatic rifles and magazines holding more than 10 rounds. Rhode Island's law targets high-capacity magazines, making it illegal to possess or sell them. Both laws aim to reduce the lethality of mass shootings and have survived legal challenges so far. Supporters argue these are common-sense measures that save lives by limiting access to weapons often used in mass shootings. They see the laws as essential for public safety. Opponents, however, argue these bans infringe on the rights of law-abiding citizens and do little to stop criminals. They claim terms like assault weapon are misleading and that the banned firearms are similar to legal hunting rifles. Magazine limits, they argue, hinder self-defense. The debate over these laws reflects the broader national divide on gun regulation. The current legal battles over gun rights and regulations in America can be traced directly to the Supreme Court's landmark 2022 Bruen decision, which significantly expanded the interpretation of the Second Amendment and gun rights across the country. The Bruen ruling set a new, much stricter test for evaluating gun laws. Now, the government must prove that any firearm regulation is consistent with the nation's historical tradition of firearm regulation, dating back to the founding era. This so-called history and tradition test has made it far more difficult for lawmakers to defend modern gun laws in court, especially those addressing today's unique challenges. As a result, the decision has led to a wave of conflicting lower court rulings. Some courts have struck down bans on assault weapons and high-capacity magazines, arguing they lack historical precedent, while other courts have upheld similar bans, creating a patchwork of legal standards and widespread confusion. The Supreme Court has also allowed certain restrictions, such as those disarming domestic abusers, to remain in place, demonstrating that the new test is not absolute or all-encompassing. The Bruin decision left many critical questions about gun regulation unanswered, fueling a surge of ongoing legal battles nationwide. Today, federal courts have become the main battleground for defining the scope and limits of the Second Amendment in the 21st century. With each new case, the legal landscape grows more complex and contentious. The ultimate meaning of the Second Amendment is being shaped, case by case, in real time. Advocacy groups reacted swiftly to the Supreme Court's decision. Gun control organizations celebrated, calling it a victory for public safety and state rights. Gun rights groups like the NRA condemned the move as a violation of constitutional freedoms and vowed to keep fighting. The polarized reactions highlight the deep divide in America's gun debate. One side sees these firearms as threats, the other views them as protected tools for self-defense. The court's inaction did nothing to bridge this gap, instead, fueling both sides' resolve. For many, the issue is deeply personal, shaped by experience and belief. The legal and cultural battle over guns continues, with both sides preparing for the next round. It's almost certain the Supreme Court will soon face the question of assault weapon bans again. Several conservative justices have signaled their readiness to take up a clear, decisive case. The common use argument, whether popular firearms like the AR-15 are protected by the Second Amendment, will be central. Gun rights advocates argue widespread ownership should guarantee protection. Gun control advocates cite public safety and mass shootings. The outcome will shape gun ownership and regulation for generations. The stakes are high. The court's eventual ruling will define what weapons Americans can own and how states can respond to gun violence. Until then, the debate rages in courts, legislatures, and communities nationwide. The fight over assault weapon bans remains one of America's most enduring and divisive issues. The battle over gun laws isn't limited to the East Coast. Washington state's assault weapon ban is also under legal fire, with a federal judge recently allowing the law to stand during ongoing challenges. Similar cases in Illinois and California add to a patchwork of rulings across the country. These state-level fights create legal uncertainty and increase pressure on the Supreme Court to resolve the issue. Each new ruling shapes the arguments and strategies for future Supreme Court cases. The debate is happening everywhere, not just in one courtroom. Together, these cases will determine the future of gun regulation in America. The national conversation over balancing gun rights and public safety is far from over. The courts, lawmakers, and the public all play a role in shaping what comes next.